He came at midnight. Ha-na was behind the baccarat table, as always. The game had been slow. 3 regulars, small bets, no tension. She was bored. Boredom made her dangerous. Then the door opened and the temperature in the room changed. The man who walked in was tall, not the height that came from good shoes, real height, the kind that made other men shift unconsciously to give him space. His suit was charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the kind of fabric that whispered wealth instead of shouting it. His watch was understated. His shoes were Italian. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. And his left eyebrow was split by a thin white scar. Hana's hands stopped moving over the cards, only for a second. Then she resumed dealing, her face smooth as stone. The scar. She knew that scar. She had watched him get it, a broken bottle in a Gangnam alley 10 years ago when he had stepped between Do-hyun and a man with a grudge. He had taken the hit without flinching, had kept fighting, had smiled the whole time. Seo Jun-hyuk. He moved through the space like he owned it, not arrogantly, but comfortably. His eyes scanned the room once, cataloging exits, counting security, noting the bar, the cashier's cage, the steel door behind her. He was measuring, calculating. Then his gaze landed on her, and he smiled. Not a big smile, a small one, the kind of smile that said, "I know something you don't." Ha-na didn't smile back. "New face?" she said, her voice flat. "We don't take walk-ins." "I was invited." He walked to the baccarat table, pulled out a chair, and sat across from her, "by the reputation of the game, and the woman who runs it." The 3 regulars looked at him, then at her. They were smart enough to stay quiet. Hana set down the deck. "Dong-soo?" Her lieutenant appeared at her shoulder, silent as always. He looked at Jun-hyuk the way a wolf looks at a trespassing dog. "Remove him," Hana said. Dong-soo moved, but Jun-hyuk didn't flinch. He simply reached into his jacket, slowly, deliberately, and placed a stack of cash on the table. 50 million won, neatly banded. "I came to play," he said. "That's all. One hand. If I win, I stay for the night. If I lose, I leave and never come back." Hana looked at the money, looked at his scar, looked at the calm in his eyes. She should say no. Every instinct screamed that this man was trouble, that he was here for more than cards. But she was curious. Curiosity was a weakness she had never been able to kill. "One hand," she said. "Baccarat. You lose, you leave your money and your dignity at the door." Jun-hyuk's smile widened. "Fair." She dealt. Player, a 6. Banker, a 7. Jun-hyuk lost. But he didn't look like a man who had just lost 50 million won. He looked like a man who had just confirmed something he already knew. He stood, buttoned his jacket, and inclined his head. "A pleasure, Miss Jung." He turned and walked out, didn't look back. Dong-soo watched him go. When the door closed, he turned to Hana. "He's not here to gamble." "I know." "Then why did you let him play?" Hana picked up the 50 million won, stacked it neatly beside the table. "Because now I know he's here, and he knows I know." She looked at Dong-soo. "Find out everything about him, where he's been, who he works for now, and why Seoul is suddenly interested in Busan." Dong-soo nodded and disappeared. Hana finished the night without thinking about the man with the scar. That was a lie. She thought about him the entire time. Jun-hyuk came back the next night, and the night after that, and the night after that. He always came at midnight, always wore different expensive suit, always sat at the same spot at the baccarat table, always lost. But he lost slowly, deliberately. He played badly enough to lose, but well enough to stay at the table for hours. And the whole time, he watched her. Not her cards, not her hands, her face. Ha-na hated it. "You're staring," she said on the 4th night, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "I'm admiring," he corrected. "There's a difference." "Not to me." He leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. "You haven't changed. I don't know you. You know me. He tapped his left eyebrow. You remember this. You remember the alley. You remember the night you ran. Ha-na's grip tightened on the cards. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. His voice was soft, gentle, the voice of a man who had all the time in the world. You remember everything, Ha-na. That's why you're still alive. The use of her first name hit her like a slap. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. The other players looked up, startled. Dong-soo moved toward the table. Game's over, Ha-na said. Everyone out. The regulars scrambled. Minji started clearing chips. Dong-soo stood by the door, arms crossed, watching Jun-yak with murder in his eyes. But Jun-yak didn't move. He sat at the empty table, his hands folded in front of him, waiting. When the room was empty except for the three of them, Ha-na walked around the table and stood in front of him. You have 10 seconds to tell me why you're here, then Dong-soo breaks your legs and throws you in the harbor. Jun-yak looked up at her. His expression was unreadable. I'm here to offer you a deal. Seoul is collapsing, Do-yoon is losing territory, and he's finally remembered you exist. The words landed like ice water down her spine. Get out, she said. Ha-na, get out. Dong-soo stepped forward. Jun-yak raised his hands in surrender and stood up slowly. I'm staying at the Grand Hotel, room 812. When you're ready to hear the rest, you know where to find me. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. You look good, by the way. Running a casino suits you. Then he was gone. Ha-na stood in the middle of the empty room, her heart pounding, her hands shaking with an anger she hadn't felt in years. Boss, Dong-soo said quietly, who is he? Someone I should have left for dead, she said. She walked to the bar and poured herself a whiskey, drank it in one swallow, poured another. Dong-soo watched her but didn't speak. Go home, she said. I'll close up. You shouldn't be alone tonight. I'm always alone, Dong-soo. That's the point. He hesitated, then nodded and left. Ha-na sat at the bar until 3 in the morning, staring at nothing, the taste of whiskey bitter on her tongue. She didn't sleep that night. She couldn't, because every time she closed her eyes, she saw Do-yoon's smile, and every time she opened them, she saw Jun-yak's scar. 10 years ago, the night she ran. She had walked out of Do-hyun's apartment at 4 in the morning. The emergency cash was in her pocket. Her phone was turned off. Her shoes were silent on the stairs. She made it to the bus station before she realized she wasn't alone. Going somewhere? The voice came from behind her. She turned. Jun-yak was standing by the ticket counter, a cup of coffee in his hand, his expression unreadable. Her blood went cold. You're supposed to be with Do-hyun. He's sleeping. He sleeps like the dead. Jun-yak took a sip of his coffee. You're not very good at running, by the way. You should have taken the back exit. She didn't know if he was mocking her or helping her. She still didn't. Are you going to stop me? She asked. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. There's 5 million won in here. It's not enough to disappear forever, but it's enough to get you to Busan. My sister lives there. She'll help you. Ha-na stared at the envelope, then at him. Why? Because Do-hyun is going to kill you eventually. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. And I'm tired of cleaning up his messes. He pressed the envelope into her hands. His fingers were warm. Go, he said. Don't look back and don't ever tell anyone I helped you. She wanted to ask why he was helping her, wanted to ask if he had a sister in Busan or if that was a lie, wanted to ask if he would be punished when Do-hyun found out. But the bus was boarding and she was out of time. Thank you, she whispered. Jun-yak's smile was sad. Don't thank me. You're not free. You're just farther away. She didn't understand what he meant then. She got on the bus, watched Seoul disappear through the rain-streaked window, and tried to believe she had escaped. The memory faded. Ha-na was back in her apartment, the sun rising over the harbor, the whiskey bottle empty on the counter. You're not free, you're just farther away. She had spent 10 years proving him wrong, building something of her own, becoming someone who didn't need anyone. But now he was back, and Do-hyun had remembered she existed. She picked up her phone, stared at it. Then she called Dong-soo. I need you to find out everything about the Grand Hotel. Entrances, exits, security cameras, staff, everything. Boss, and I need you to stop asking questions. A pause. Then, yes, boss. She hung up, looked at the rising sun. She wasn't going to Jun-yuk's hotel room. Not yet. But she wasn't not going either. She went on the 5th night. Not because she trusted him, because she needed information and he was the only one who had it. The Grand Hotel was in the heart of Busan's business district, all glass and chrome, the kind of place where businessmen brought women who weren't their wives. Ha-na walked through the lobby like she belonged there. She did. She owned the building next door. Room 812. She knocked. The door opened. Jun-yuk stood in the doorway shirtless, a towel around his neck, his chest marked with old scars she remembered and new ones she didn't. He looked like he had just stepped out of the shower. You came, he said. Don't flatter yourself. She stepped past him into the room. It was neat, expensive. A laptop sat on the desk, the screen dark. A half-empty bottle of whiskey stood on the minibar. I'm here for information, nothing else. He closed the door, pulled a shirt over his head, slowly, deliberately, like he knew she was watching. Fair. She sat in the chair by the window. He sat on the edge of the bed. They faced each other like opponents at a card table. Start talking, she said. Seoul is in chaos. Do-hyun's father died 6 months ago. Liver failure. All that whiskey finally caught up with him. Do-hyun inherited everything, and he's been losing it ever since. How? Bad decisions, too much pride, not enough patience. Jun-yuk leaned back. The Kim family, the one he thought he destroyed, they had cousins, in Daegu, and those cousins have been eating his territory piece by piece. So let him burn. What does that have to do with me? Jun-yuk's eyes met hers. He thinks you can save him. Ha-na laughed. It was bitter and sharp. I'm a casino boss in Busan. I don't have an army. I don't have connections in Seoul. I have nothing he wants. You have money, clean money, money that isn't tied to the families. Jun-yuk leaned forward. Do-hyun is bleeding cash. His casinos are being raided. His protection money isn't coming in. He needs an infusion, something to keep him afloat while he reorganizes. And you think I'm going to give it to him. I think he's going to take it, whether you give it or not. The room went very quiet. What do you mean? Ha-na asked. Jun-yuk stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the city. He knows where you are, Ha-na. He's always known. He let you run because you weren't useful to him then, but now you're very useful. Her hands curled into fists. You told him. I never told him anything. I told you to run. I gave you money. I sent you to my sister, who, by the way, still asks about you. He turned to face her. I've been protecting you for 10 years, keeping your name out of conversations, making sure no one came looking, but I can't protect you anymore. Why not? Because he's desperate. Desperate men don't listen to reason. They don't listen to loyalty. They just take what they need. He stepped closer. And what he needs is you. Ha-na stood up. Her body was tense, ready to fight or flee. What are you offering me? Jun-yuk stopped a foot away from her. Help me take him down. She stared at him. Before he takes you, before he drags you back to Seoul and puts you in a cage and uses you up until there's nothing left. Help me end this. You want me to trust you? I want you to survive. How do I know this isn't a trap? How do I know you're not working for him? Jun-yuk reached into his pocket. Ha-na tensed, ready to strike, but he only pulled out a photograph. A woman, mid-20s, dark hair, a smile that looked like his. "My sister," he said. "Du-yan killed her 3 years ago because she helped you, because she gave you a place to stay when you first got to Busan." Ha-na's world tilted. "He found out," Jun-yuk continued, his voice flat. "He waited until I was out of the country. Then he sent men to her apartment. They made it look like a robbery. But I know. I've always known." He held the photograph out to her. "I'm not offering you a deal because I'm a good man. I'm offering you a deal because I want him dead, and you're the only one who can help me get close enough to do it." Ha-na took the photograph, stared at the woman's face, the woman who died because of her. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. "Because you would have blamed yourself, and you had enough to carry." She looked up at him. His eyes were hard, but there was something beneath the hardness. Grief, rage, a hunger for justice that had nothing to do with right or wrong. "Get dressed," she said. "What?" "We're going to my casino. We have a lot to discuss, and I don't do business in hotel rooms." For the first time since he'd arrived, Jun-yuk's smile reached his eyes. "Yes, boss," he said.